A beautiful ballerina is coming of age.
I was thinking of centering the story on, I don't know the first thing about dance. I don't want to be your first lover.
Who said you would be? It's not what you think.
Oh, what is it?
You don't know what she's been through. The tension.
Oh, the tension.
You're not giving your career up for me.
You're not giving yours up for me.
Mirrors, the Monday movie, 8:30 on 2.
Incinerating is now the popular way of disposing of our hazardous waste, but public eye reports on the growing fears about safety and the wider controversy over whether this is the best way to handle it. That's in a quarter of an hour. First on to Richard Littlejohn gives us his professional overview of some of the choice cuttings of the week. What the papers say.
This week, What the Papers Say is presented by Richard Littlejohn of The Sun.
Good evening. With only 39 frantic newspaper-buying days left before Christmas, Fleet Street is already getting in the festive mood, offering readers gifts and goodies galore. By my calculation, there is a grand total of £3,233,250 on offer this week alone, to say nothing of a veritable galaxy of other wonderful prizes, ranging from the miserly to the magnificent. For instance, The Spectator has a competition which this week was headlined,
Utterly astonishing.
in which lucky readers can win themselves
£16 each, and the bonus bottle of Chivas Regal.
I hope our Gladys remind me to rush out and buy it Spectator tomorrow. The Daily Mirror, meanwhile, has announced
£225,000 motoring bonanza.
Now that's more like it.
5 Mini Coopers to be won today.
Cars, we got 'em.
Win a car with plenty of style. This top rover could be yours.
For the more ecologically minded, the Daily Star is offering the chance to win
£9,000 worth of bikes.
just the thing for getting up and down the stairs when the lift in your tower block breaks down. Still not tempted? Then how about
Win £5,000 of Christmas toys.
100 packs of vitamins.
5,000 free Quaker Health booklets.
10 Sony camcorders plus 1,000 Beatle videos.
Ma Larkin's bumper hamper.
150 free cookbooks.
slow down? When do we get to the big prizes?
Big, big prizes.
Thank you.
£150 off toys.
Nah.
A haul for 2 in Ibiza.
Anything else?
Super shopping sprees to New York, Paris or London.
18 days of decadence.
£5,000 of Simpsons videos, man.
A superb replica of the Rosetta Stone from the British Museum. Wow.
Yeah. Where's the money?
You can win a handsome £500, a grand £1,000, or even a wacky £10,000.
You can do better than that.
£30,000.
Higher.
£95,000.
Higher.
£100,000.
£500,000.
I don't know.
£1 million.
All right, I give in. I'll take the money. See, Rodney, I told you, this time next year we'll be millionaires. The way things are going, by the time the 12 days of Christmas are up, Fleet Street will have sent you
12 Mini Coopers, 11 Rover hatchbacks, 10 Days of Decadence, 9 Foreign Holidays, 8 Wrestling Videos, 7 Simpsons T-shirts, 6 Deep Dish Pizzas, 5 Mountain Bikes, 4 Weekend Breaks, 3 Cookbooks, 2 Movie Tickets, and a bottle of Chivas Regal.
Of course, readers of the Daily Telegraph are above this sort of vulgar inducement. But they know a bargain when they see one, such as
2 meals for the price of 1. A cosy candlelit tete-a-tete, a cheap and cheerful working lunch, a celebratory birthday breakfast.
That's if you can work out the rules.
Simply collect any 12 differently numbered tokens from the 15 published, fill in one of the application forms to be printed on November the 14th, 15th and 16th, and send them together with a stamped addressed envelope.
But not just any stamped addressed envelope, mind.
The minimum size of envelope is DL size 4 3/8 by 8 5/8 inches, 11 centimetres by 22 centimetres.
Just as well they gave the dimensions in old money first. I doubt there are many Telegraph readers who understand the metric system. If you've got this far, then you qualify for
your Telegraph Dinner for 2 membership card, entitling 2 people to dine for the price of the more expensive meal ordered of the 2.
Got that?
This includes starter, main course and dessert, or a combination of these three courses, but does not include drinks, service or cover charges.
Seems fairly straightforward, but if you're still a bit puzzled, fear not. Help is at hand.
How it works. An example. How much you will save depends on how much you eat. This is a typical example to show you how the offer works. Meal 1. Fresh mussels in garlic.
Yum, yum.
Fresh mussels in garlic. £3.95. Beef Wellington, £11.95. Chocolate mousse, £3.90. Total, £19.80. Meal 2. Seafood pasta salad, £2.80. Medallions of monkfish, £13. Fruit salad, £3.50. Total, £19.30.
Some of us are dying of thirst out here.
Bottle of wine, £9.95. 2 coffees, £1.30. Service 15%, £7.55. Total, £57.90.
Half £57.90 is £28.95. Sounds okay.
The total cost for dinner 1, excluding drinks and service, is £19.80. The total cost of dinner 2, excluding drinks and service, is £19.30. As dinner 2 is the least expensive meal, this will be the cost deducted from the total bill, i.e. £19.30 will be deducted from £57.90. So £38.60 is the total amount payable by a Telegraph dinner for 2 card holder.
Confused? Helpfully, the Telegraph is a handy question and answer guide. Sample.
What would happen if my companion only ordered a starter and a dessert? Could I still use my
Telegraph dinner for 2?
membership card?
Yes. If the price of the starter and dessert were less than the total cost of your meal, then the cost of the starter and dessert will be deducted from your total bill. Don't forget, both diners can order a combination of any 3 courses, and the cost deducted from the bill will be the least expensive meal ordered by one of the 2 diners.
Hardly worth the bother, really, is it? You'd be better off doing the Daily Mirror Spot the Ball contest. Still, one man who would have appreciated a dinner for 2 for the price of 1 would have been the sadly departed Robert Maxwell, but only if he could have eaten both meals himself. The Maxwell mystery rumbles on. More than a week after his death, or should that be alleged death, today's Guardian refueled the debate with this remarkable front-page story.
Revelations deepen mystery over Maxwell's death.
The Spanish authorities have no evidence other than the word of his family that the body pulled from the sea last week was that of Mr. Maxwell.
Curiouser and curiouser. The fact of the matter is that no one yet has the faintest idea how he died, if he died. But that hasn't stopped the speculation.
Maxwell death theories multiply as tests go on.
Exactly. You pays your money and you takes your choice. On Monday, Maxwell's Mirror attempted to bring some order with a full-page question and answer feature.
Maxwell's final hours. Fact and fantasy. Was Mr. Maxwell troubled and distressed the night of his death?
Not at all.
Did he have a heart condition?
No, though he did suffer from a lung complaint which caused breathlessness.
Where he fell was said to be inaccessible for a man of his size.
Not true. Mr. Maxwell had no trouble reaching the spot.
Did Mr. Maxwell drown?
No, there was no evidence of water in his lungs.
Is there a mystery about Mr. Maxwell's death?
Of course there is, simply because no one saw it happen.
And so on and so on. The following day's Daily Express promised
The truth behind the last hours of Mr. Maxwell. Express probe unravels riddle.
An Express investigation today unravels the mystery surrounding tycoon Robert Maxwell's death. Did Mr. Maxwell have a heart condition?
No, but he did suffer from a lung complaint.
Where he fell was said to be inaccessible for a man his size.
Untrue. Mr. Maxwell had no trouble.
Hang on a minute. Haven't we heard this somewhere before?
Did Mr. Maxwell drown?
No.
It was a straight lift from the Mirror. At least the Express admitted it had been.
Collated with the help of Mirror Group newspapers.
I don't know about you, but if there's one question I'm heartily sick and tired of being asked, it's, what do you think about this Maxwell business then? But by Wednesday, the Daily Mail was still asking,
Did he fall, or was it something more sinister? It is one of the great mysteries of the world, and everyone seems to have a theory. It says much about the stature and personality of the man that even in death, he should be the main talking point at 1 million workplaces and around thousands of dinner tables.
The Daily Mail, naturally, chose to solicit dinner party opinion, including such luminaries as
Count Nikolai Tolstoy, Philip Beresford, Chaim Bermont, Tony Black, Brian Worth, Richard Ingrams.
Hoo-hee.
Taki Theodorakopoulos, Lord Denning, Peter Carter Ruck, Roy Greenslade, Linda LaPlante.
Miss LaPlante,
Author of TV's Prime Suspect.
informed us.
My first reaction was that he was murdered, probably by Mossad. There could have been a two-man sub that came up beside the boat and let two men clamber on board and then escape again. I know it sounds very James Bondish, but there are two-man subs, and if you're in the intelligence world, there's no reason why you shouldn't use one.
Two-man subs? James Bond? What is going on here? Bring on the Loch Ness Monster, which is in fact pretty much what Auberon Waugh did.
I confess that when I first heard of Robert Maxwell's disappearance from his yacht off the Canary Islands, I assumed, like many other journalists, that he had merely gone into hiding and planned to emerge in a couple of weeks' time to rebuild his shaky fortunes by suing us all over his obituaries. When it emerged that his body had been found floating naked, face up in the Atlantic, some 30 miles off course, I supposed it was time to accept the tragedy of his death. But then it occurred to me, as most unlikely, that they would be able to find a body, however large, in the immensity of the Atlantic. Far more likely, the helicopter had picked up the body of a smallish white whale. This would also explain its absence of clothing, since whales seldom wear clothes, except in comic strips.
I must admit, this theory sounds far more plausible than any offered by Linda LaPlante or most of Fleet Street. In fact, if you look at this picture in the News of the World, taken not by a member of the paparazzi, but by a holidaymaker from Cheadle Hulme, you could see how Captain Bob could easily be mistaken for a white whale.
At one with the sea, Maxwell dips his feet in the water by yacht where he spent his last hours.
In all the explanations and computer-drawn diagrams which have filled our papers over the last 10 days, I have never before seen any mention of the fact that the Lady Ghislaine had a cat flap. Perhaps that should be Captain Flap, where Maxwell was wont to cool down. Maybe he just slipped. Still, the mystery gave the literary wing of the Fourth Estate a chance to show off. Dominic Lawson in the FT...
Melmotte! I exclaimed when I first heard that Robert Maxwell had been reported missing at sea.
Funnily enough, that was the first thing that came to our minds at the Sun, too.
Admirers of Trollope, and in particular the way we live now, will need little further explanation. Melmotte is the great financier at the heart of Trollope's satire of English life in the 1870s. Trollope describes Melmotte variously as horrid, big, rich, bloated.
Lawson goes on to list the other similarities between Maxwell and Melmotte: obscure origins, political ambition, assiduous cultivation of foreign potentates, a bully with the sheer force of personality to persuade bankers to lend him enormous amounts of money.
The only difference was that Melmotte, faced with the ruin of his empire, killed himself. Hence my startled cry of Melmotte on learning that Maxwell had gone over the side. I am convinced that Maxwell did not do a Melmotte.
Perhaps Lawson's been talking to Linda LaPlante. What did Frank Johnson of the Sunday Telegraph make of it all?
All week it was compared to that of Melmotte.
Here we go again.
But the aftermath is similar to that of another financier, Merdle in Little Dorrit.
Sorry, Frank, much as I enjoy Dickens, I'm afraid we're running out of time. Step forward Sean French of the New Statesman.
Maxwell was not so much a latter-day Ozymandias or Alexander the Great as a more or less human version of Dr. Seuss's failed conqueror of the world, Yertle the Turtle.
Was he one of the Ninja Turtles? William Rees-Mogg, come on down.
Quam cite transit gloria mundi, Thomas à Kempis wrote about 600 years ago.
True, I checked with the Sun's literary desk, and that is indeed what Thomas wrote. Is there much more of this?
I found myself thinking more of Samuel Johnson's poem, The Vanity of Human Wishes.
Is that the one about the two-man submarine?
He left the name at which the world grew pale, to point a moral or adorn a tale.
Whatever you thought of the captain, he continues to give as much sport in death as he did in life, and his achievements speak for themselves. Few people ever inflicted serious defeat on the captain, but one man who did was John Lees, former editor-in-chief of the Evening Standard, who died in September, aged 61. Lees revamped the Standard and masterminded the destruction of Maxwell's ill-fated London Daily News. Yesterday at the Journalists' Church, St Bride's in Fleet Street, a memorial service was held for John Lees. In contrast to some publishers we could mention, editors rarely receive the public recognition they deserve. But without them, publishers have no publications, and writers no platform. In 1982, Lees launched You magazine, which was to prove the saviour of the Mail on Sunday. MOS editor Stuart Stephen paid tribute in this leader.
What he did was to rethink the whole concept of Sunday colour magazines, and in so doing, invent many of the features which are now commonplace in magazines of every kind produced today. His name will go down in the history of Fleet Street.
Genevieve Cooper worked with Lees at You magazine and subsequently became his deputy editor when he took over the Evening Standard in 1986. In the Daily Mail, she remembered the way Lees chose his staff.
You need a mix of people. Some who are exercised about the imminent collapse of civilization as we know it, and some whose prime concern is with the price of caviar.
Maggie Alderson captured the essence of the man in her obituary in The Independent. I leave you with her words. Good night.
His capricious prejudices against beards, backpackers and wet lefties in general concealed a naturally liberal personality. This was the John Lee School of Journalism.
Never do things the obvious way. Take risks with original writers. Don't talk to the advertising department. Don't talk to PRs. Have as few lunches as possible, except with your own staff. And remember, good ideas are usually simple, and bad writing will kill any great idea.
There's comedy over on BBC1 now as Clegg, Compo and Foggy rally round to help Howard out of a spot of bother. But as always, things never seem to run quite as planned. Last of the summer wine.
A new series on BBC2 explores our relationship with the enigmatic cat, the persecuted and oft burned instrument of the devil.
Yeah, we're going to burn them.
An ultimate survivor in the most bizarre of surroundings. Fascinating, elusive breeds. A revered captive of 20th century living. But starting the series, the worship, adoration and mummification of a feline divinity. Cats, beginning in half an hour.